Hello, we are live again. Hopefully this time it's going to work. Today we're going to be talking about moon magic and how you can connect to the moon for healing and self-care practices with Cosmic Cures, Bex from Cosmic Cures. And yes, it's working. I've got a request. The sun is shining.
Yay! Oh my gosh, thank goodness.
Yay!
Technical difficulties, honestly. Not updated my story of my life.
I thought it was me, and then I couldn't quite see, the sun. I mean, I shouldn't be complaining. It's Earth Day and everything, but the sun was like, I couldn't see what was happening.
I half wanted to come on and you'd be wearing like a pair of Ray-Bans this time.
I have got my glasses here, but I won't put them on.
That would look so diva-ish if you were interviewing me, like if you were having a chat and you were wearing sunglasses.
But yeah, no, thank you so much for joining. And yeah, it's a super nice day to be doing it. It's Earth Day.
It is Earth Day. Yeah, I went outside, planted my feet on the ground, felt the grass beneath the soles of my feet. It was wonderful. Sat outside and had a cup of tea. It was really
lovely. I mean, I try to do that. Just get the feet in the ground, because it really. I work with an energy healer, and she always says it recenters your energy, basically, like grounds it back.
Oh, completely. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people think that we only have like the 7 chakras because they're the main ones that we know of, but actually we have 21 chakra points in our body, and 2 of the crucial ones are on the soles of our feet. And so if you want to do any kind of grounding exercise, and actually before even any kind of meditation, if you want to balance any of your main chakras, whether it's your root or going right up to your crown, then one of the first things to do is place bare feet on, or place the soles of your feet on the earth, because it just resets that energy for you. So it's really important.
Yeah. I mean, in winter, I think I tried it when it was really cold. It was like February. I was like, I really don't want to take my socks off. I don't want to do it. But really, after, I felt so much better, even though it was cold. I was like, oh, it does make a difference. And obviously, when it's sunny outside, it's easier to get your toes out.
Oh, it's so much nicer, isn't it? I always see those people who live by the sea and go out and in winter, in the depths of winter, and they run into the ocean, and I think, if I lived by the sea, I bet you I would do that, but I'm pretty sure I wouldn't.
It's a nice idea, isn't it? Connecting with nature. And even now, literally, I feel like the sun is, really shining for this conversation.
Yeah, it totally is. I've got it behind me as well.
Yeah.
What star sign are you?
So star sign, I am Gemini.
Gemini, very nice.
What star sign are you?
I'm a Virgo, and Virgo rising, so I feel like my happy place is in nature, and I really do feel rejuvenated. I feel like my soul has had a shower when I've been out in nature, or I need to be near woodlands and things. It makes so much of a difference to me. It's a real kind of necessity. Even when I was living in London, then I've always lived near green spaces. I've either lived near a common or near a park. I've never been very far away from green spaces, and I just think even subconsciously I just gravitate towards them for sure.
I mean, I've been thinking, I'm in London now, and I've been thinking recently, obviously we're all in this restricted movement, but I have been thinking I just want to move. I want to just I just want to live alone in nature.
Yeah, just go and live in a little hut somewhere.
Yeah, I think I'd actually, the older I'm getting and the more that I'm learning, and just coming back to these soothing practices, connecting to nature, enjoying the sun. And I think a lot of people in lockdown might have just had that time to slow down and reconnect to the things that are, even the trees.
Exactly. Yeah, no, you're completely right there. And this whole thing of noticing what's around us a lot more, which sounds like such a kind of basic thing to say.
Yeah.
But I've been asked quite a few times over the course of this last year to give commentary on astrology and crystal healing and all of these kind of more esoteric things, and why there has seemed to be a surge in popularity for them through them. And it's like totally understandable that now we've been in this situation of lockdown, and now we've had all of like these extra things stripped away, like, you know, being busy with our social lives, staying out late, seeing people at the weekend, going and like rushing from here and there, and grinding ourselves into a slower pace of life, routine. Then we kind of begin to question these things within ourselves, like, okay, what is it that makes me happy? You know, when I'm not just like working until 10 p.m. and then going out on the lash and then just spending my, you know, weekends running around and the countryside, then it's like all about bringing it home to where do I find nurture, where do I find nourishment and security. And so I think that's naturally why a lot of people have gravitated towards astrology, gravitated towards like crystal healing, all of these different things, because they're understanding that these feelings run a lot deeper, and then they're like, you know, that these spiritual kind of ways of living are actually so positive to bring into our lives.
Absolutely. And I mean, you know, that's kind of why I do think there has been an increase in people connecting with that. And even I've always like loved star signs, at least, but it wasn't until probably 18 months ago I started looking at the moon and learning more about the moon. And yeah, it was just that discovery of having these different practices and, you know, learning these different techniques that they're natural, they're things that are already existing and that, you know, generations previously were connecting with. So yeah, when I came across learning more about the moon and just the effect of the moon, and now everything in my life is like synced up to the moon. So no, it's really good to kind of hear from your side why, you know, people are connecting, I think, more with this content. But before we get into it, I know we're going to talk a lot about the moon and healing. I thought we could maybe just explain a little bit about your background, and yeah, how you came into this space, I guess.
Yeah, so I've been been moving with the moon, or sort of like flowing with the moon for quite a few years now. I'd say really sort of dedicated to it for about kind of 3 years, but always been very aware of these things. And actually growing up, I was so aware of them. My dad's very spiritual. He is, you know, a holistic therapist, and he does sort of like massage, shiatsu. He's an NLP practitioner. He does Reiki, all of this. So when I was growing up, I was surrounded by these beliefs, and it was always very much about focusing on like where our attention went. So as children, we were even taught like, okay, there's no such thing as like a bad situation. It's just either take yourself out of the situation or change your perspective surrounding it. So these ingrained in me, and I live not far away from Glastonbury, so
oh nice.
Yeah, take little like weekend like day trips to Glastonbury and go shopping for crystals. And I was sort of like playing around with runes and tarot cards in my like early teens, or and kind of just playing with it all, because that's what you do at that age. You're just curious, and you kind of want to discover these like different things. It was very exciting. But astrology always just really connected with me, and I used to love taking my dad's astrology books into school and reading people's horoscopes, and was just like so curious about them as a self-development tool as well. And I think that's what really interested me as I got like older. It's just noticing that actually what our birth charts can do when we understand them more is it provides us with such a map of potential for our life. You know, it really shows us like where we have the potential to flourish, like where basically we can just like find ease, where we can bring abundance to us, where we can like flow, like the path of least resistance, right? That's what our birth chart is showing us. And then to use that in a tool where I could help people with either readings or like with cosmic coaching, all of these different things. And it's just so great to be able to go into this space and to help people understand more about themselves. So I think that's why in the last few years I've really gravitated towards it more, because it's like given me this opportunity to blend like helping people, which is what I love to do. I'm like Virgo sun and rising, all about like this kind of healing, wanting to be a healer, and like and also wanting to bring in these like more spiritual elements. So I think that's why I love it so much, and the moon just naturally goes with that. And the moon is just a really great one to begin with as well, because anyone can understand and look up the phases of the moon. You don't need to have a million books about it. You don't need to study it and really like learn like really intricate elements of it, you can always just like tune into it immediately and see, okay, this is what the moon's doing, this is what I can expect to feel. So yeah.
No, it's nice to kind of hear your story and how, you know, even, you know, like from a young age, like you were saying with the crystals and the like just being drawn to this, it's healing. It's a different type of healing. And, you know, just to give a bit of background on Shushbox and the channel that this song, I'm so sorry, I literally can't see. Like,
oh, bless you.
But we are a platform basically supporting survivors of sexual violence. And yeah, we cover a lot on like healing, different types of healing, advocacy, and just self-care, just feeling better basically. And, you know, we haven't talked personally, in my experience, I have been connecting with the moon, as I said, in the last 18 months. But yeah, I wanted to kind of explore it more on the channel for people who might, there's different types of self-care and healing practices. So I wanted to explore this part of healing and how you can connect to these, you know, having these different routines in place each month with the moon, because obviously the moon goes through cycles, and how that can actually help to heal when you're at home by, you know, alone.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the most crucial things to remember before we even go into what each of the individual cycles means for us is just to look at the moon in her whole cycle, and to learn it from her, in that sometimes she is shining at her brightest, she's like just fully out there and putting herself on display. There are times when she's just growing steadily. There are also times when she's like in a process of like retreating, and then there's a period where she just decides to disappear altogether. And none of these phases is more important or less important than the last. They're all crucial in her own development. And it's the same with us, you know, like we don't constantly need to be growing, we don't constantly need to be shining. It's just as important to honor those times where we take, you know, periods of rest, where we slow down, where we sometimes just remove ourselves from situations altogether. And that isn't a sign of weakness at all, you know, like it's all part of this just great harmony. And so that's a lesson that I think we all really need to remember, to stop being so hard on ourselves all the time as well.
So true. Yeah, it is like honoring your emotions and letting yourself feel through things. And, you know, sometimes, like exactly how you said with the moon needs to take a moment and, you know, go inwards sometimes. And I think we can relate to that in a sense, you know. Even I think the last time we were going to connect, it was around the new moon, and for me now, I'm just like totally in sync with the moon. So when it is the new moon, I just feel like I'm also going inwards. Like I'm also feeling introverted and, you know, not wanting to be as out there. My energy kind of flows with the moon now.
Yeah, and it's so totally true. I think like naturally our energy does flow with the moon. As females, we are just so much more connected with the moon anyway. You know, like throughout history, throughout so much mythology, throughout so much text, you know, that goes back thousands of years. Also the menstrual cycle and like our flow in that sense like connects us to the moon. And so we do feel it like deep down inside us. And you know, it's like innate in us as well. And then obviously like so much stimuli from the culture that we live in today comes in and kind of strips it back, which again is why during lockdown we've all come to return to a little bit more, because some of that stimuli is being removed. But I think like, generally when you do start to pace yourself with the moon, you just notice, and whether or not that's slightly psychosomatic, in which case, you know, maybe it's a bit of both, and brilliant, because it means that what you're doing is that you're training yourself to flow in this way that is nourishing to yourself and nurturing to yourself. So I think working in the kind of like the psychosomatic thing alongside our like innate need to sometimes rest and then sometimes grow and flourish is really positive. And that's why I love working with each of the phases as much as you do now as well. And
it is it's just honestly, I don't want to be like the moon changed my life, but it was one of the first, you know, so starting this page and, you know, talking about sexual violence and healing and all these different areas that we do on this platform. But one of you know, I did you could call it more traditional healing, you know, I had therapy, worked through that type of healing, and then I did go towards something just connected me to the more spiritual side of things. I think deeply I had always had an interest. Like I've definitely always been interested in star signs. I'd love having psychic reading. And, you know, started to collect crystals over the year. But, you know, the moon for me, it just really was, I don't like, almost like eye-opening. I just taken it for granted. You know, I'd never even considered it. It was just this thing in the air.
That's one of the most beautiful things about it, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many obvious statements that I think when you really think about them, they do kind of blow you away a little bit. Even to the extent that the moon that I remember I was in Peru a couple of years ago, and we were like hiking to Machu Picchu and like looking up at the moon, and they've got like Huayna Picchu there, which is like the moon temple, and that really hit it home. Like people worshipped the moon in this sense. So I could just like imagine being there, and it was like this sort of almost visceral reaction to like, oh my gosh, I hope you would have been a moon goddess back in those days. But, you know,
absolutely, like, me too.
Yeah, it would have been both there together at the temple, but it's this fact that the moon that we see here in the UK is the same moon that you see halfway around the world.
Yeah.
And also the moon that we'll look at tonight is going to be the exact same moon that people looked at thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. And it's just these kind of little things that, like you say, we take for granted, that every now and then you think, this is a big deal. Like the moon is a big deal. Like the moon has a big system. Absolutely.
It has an impact though. Okay, so I'm going to sound really silly for not knowing this, but you know, this time last year I was living near the Thames, and the tide was really low when it was the new moon. I was living with I had a housemate at the time, and she was like, how did you not know that? I was like, I did not know that the moon had an effect on the tide.
Yeah, exactly. But there's, you know, there are all these little things that it has an effect on just water, sort of like generally, and we're made of so much water as well. Yeah. So of course it's going to, like, our emotions are going to ebb and flow with the moon. And I think you saying, oh, the moon changed my life, you know, that's completely understandable.
That sounds so dramatic now, but I do think it was like one of the starting points of me just, you know, really connecting to this different side of healing and going down that route. And the moon, she played a big part in that, I would say.
But the same, like the moon has unequivocally changed my life too. And I feel like once you get to know how to flow with it and how to move with the phases, then it will change, you know, anyone's life that does that, because it embraces every aspect that we need to grow and that we need to transform. And one of the huge things about working the moon is stepping out of your comfort zone, setting intentions, and releasing yourself from limiting beliefs. And the only way that we're going to grow, the only way that we're going to evolve in life is like, or, you know, in a way that we become more fulfilled, more happy, we progress on our spiritual path, is by releasing these limiting beliefs, by setting intentions to ourselves and creating these conditions that we want for our dream lifestyle. If you're not doing that, and if you're just kind of like waiting for life to just throw whatever at you, and you're almost like a passenger, like, fair enough, you know, you can carry on living, but isn't it going to be so much more enriching if you decide to actually be like the driving force in your life? And the moon gives you the structure to do that. If you want, like, the moon almost becomes the vehicle for that.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, it gives you that template, doesn't it? So it's like it can give you the structure to the month almost. I mean, like we were saying previously, it's not all about the moon in terms of you don't have to be completely aligned when the moon's in. You can be feeling extroverted. Some people might really connect with it in that sense, but it does give you structure. And I'm sure we're going to probably go on to this next, but, you know, like in the different phases on how you can structure your self-care practice kind of through the cycle of the moon.
Totally. It does. It really, really does. And you could, if you wanted to, and I do, you know, if you want to look at your month in advance and you can see, okay, I know that around this period I'm going to feel much more introverted. I'm definitely going to schedule some time for self-care here. I'm not going to overwhelm my diary. I'm going to have like some really great just nights in or treating myself to things. You can think, okay, at this period, at this point, I'm going to feel like my energy is growing. I'm going to feel like I want to be more social. I'm going to book in a few times seeing friends. You know, oh, I've got a date. I'm going to see them on this day because I know that I'm going to be feeling like, you know, it's a waxing crescent and it's in Gemini, and I'm going to be feeling like chatting. So I'm going to have a date then. But then if it was like a waning gibbous moon in Cancer, then no, I'm going to be staying in and like have my fluffy socks and, you know, big bag of popcorn because that's me time. So it's a really, really good thing to look at, and to look at, but like, you know, look at the whole month beforehand and decide what you're going to do. And I love
that. I do like that, to be honest. Not predicting the future, but kind of knowing what's coming. There's a few, I obviously follow your page, and I love like reading the things that you're posting with the different star signs, and yeah, just like, it's just so interesting to me.
Yeah.
And there's different astrologers that I follow now that I watch on YouTube, and they're not predicting, but it is kind of setting that intention and giving you things to consider that are coming up. But I guess if somebody was totally new, okay, so they're looking to introduce connecting with the moon to their kind of self-care routine, what would you say would be the first step, or how can you get involved with the moon? Basically.
How can you get involved with the moon? So I think first of all, get to know the 8 key phases is the important thing. And it's easy to start off with the new moon, because the new moon is where we like to think we begin the cycle. And the new moon, so all of the 8 phases take place over the course of about kind of 26 to 28 days. And that's, why we have one full moon a month and one new moon a month. And in the time that it takes for the moon to go to orbit the Earth, and the Earth to sort of like when it's orbiting the sun, it just so happens that each full moon then takes place in the next zodiac sign. So it kind of brings in all of these energies as well. But I think, yeah, just to begin with, like for the very basics, let's start off with the new moon. And this is when it appears that there is no moon in the sky. And like when you were talking about like not being aware that the moon had an effect on the tides, some of my cosmic queens that I kind of like teach now, or that I chat with, they didn't realize that when it was a new moon, it was because the sun and the moon are like directly lined up with each other. So when we look from Earth, it's almost like the moon is like blocking the sun's rays. There's none of the sunlight on her, so it appears like she's retreated. But it would be equally understandable if you thought that the moon just wasn't in the sky that night, that she was somewhere else, that it's the fact that we can't see her. So this is traditionally a point of rest for us, recuperation, and definitely introversion, because when the new moon occurs, this is the period that we want to be kind of setting intentions and thinking about what is it we really, really want to harness in our lives. Like, what do we want to bring about? Like, what do we want to manifest? And this is because the idea is that when the moon is like seemingly retreated from the sky, when the sky is in darkness, it's the most dark point, then because there's not so much light shining, it kind of means that we can hear our intuition more. The moon is retreated, and so we're invited to go within. We're able to listen to what it is we really want. Like, if you strip back, like, what it is I think I should do, what does society expect me to do, what do other people want me to do, what am I afraid of doing, then we're like able to listen to these kind of like soul's whispers. And it's a really empowering time, actually, a new moon, because it allows us that period to step back and say, what do I need? Like, what do I want? What is the most important thing for like me? And some of us have a problem doing that. Some of us are always thinking about others. We're always thinking about like survival, but this is a real chance to like just touch base with ourselves again and ask ourselves, am I on the path that I want to be on? So this is the new moon, and this happens once every month. And after the new moon, then the moon, as it's kind of like, as it's moving, means that it appears every night to be growing in the sky, because more and more of the sun's light is shining on it, which is why you get that beautiful like sickle shape, which is what like the traditional moon shape.
Oh, like, wait, my
there they
I
are.
have moon earrings.
Beautiful.
I wore them especially.
They are so cute. Oh my gosh, I adore them. They're so nice. Oh, I love that. Pairing your jewelry to the topic. Very good. Well, I wore my green dress because it's Earth Day, so yeah,
yes.
I feel like we're nailing it.
Absolutely.
So as the moon appears like it's growing, then for a period of about kind of like a week after the new moon, and during this period is when we have our waxing phase, and waxing means growing, and it's a waxing crescent, because much like your earrings, it's like kind of that crescent shape. And so during this waxing crescent phase, as the moon is appears to be growing in the sky, so we also feel our energy growing. And so this is a really, really good period for us to be putting ourselves out there, to be embracing this energy, to be going out and seeing people, to be starting off projects, to be kind of really kind of embracing the sense of motivation that this can bring us. And it's a period of increased energy. I mean, we've not got like full energy just yet, but it's this kind of, you know, we've come out of this this period of maybe like of introspection and introversion, and it's us announcing ourselves to the world again. So it's a really, really lovely time to go and also, like see friends, put ourselves out there a bit more. And then about a week after the new moon, we have our third phase, which is our first quarter moon. And this is when the moon appears to be like directly cut in half in the sky when you look up. It's kind of a half moon. And
this reminded me of that
the Jaffa cake.
That
I know. Every time I say it, I can't. I should just have Jaffa cake props with me every time I do it.
That was such a good advert now when you think about it, because it really sticks with you.
It really does, doesn't it? I don't even really
old,
like Jaffa cakes very much, but I'm like, I could eat a Jaffa cake.
It makes you want to.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
It really does. So our half moon, over our half moon period, or the night of the half moon and the day around it, we're going to naturally start to feel a few blocks come up. This is typically the time. It happens because the moon and the sun are causing what we know as like a square aspect to each other. And this just means that challenges can come up. And so we can feel quite challenged in ourselves. On a half moon day, night, then we can feel like there are obstacles in our path. And so it's just really, really good, because as soon as you know this, you have awareness. So you can go into that day and you can know, do you know what? If I do feel like there are blocks in my path, if I do feel like I'm being, like restricted at every turn, if I'm feeling resistance about things that I want to get, if I just feel like resistance about with life, then it's a chance to step back and say, okay, no, these are just like possibly these lunar energies. Actually, how can I change my perspective of what's going on? Rather than thinking this is an obstacle and it's insurmountable or insurpassable, is there just a new route that I'm being asked to take? Actually, is there a better route that will work out more strongly for me? So I really love knowing about first quarter moon dates, because you can kind of go into that day thinking, right, okay, come at me. Like, let's see what apparent blocks come up. And I'm just going to use my intuition, a mixture of intuition and my sort of like thinking mind, to consider what other options there are. And it's just so surprising how many times on a first quarter moon I will have this almost like flip, like a switch will flip at me, and I'll kind of start thinking, oh, do you know what, actually this is a better route to go down, or this is a answer that I hadn't even really considered I needed before. So it's a really kind of like illuminating time. So first quarter moons are really, really good for that. And also it's just knowing that if you do feel de-spirited about something, it will pass. And, just like these lunar energies. So that's our third sort of major phase in the 8 phases. After the first quarter moon is when the moon is continuing to grow, because it's all like leading up. We've got like leading up to this full moon, but now it's a waxing gibbous, and the gibbous phase is where it's over halfway full, so it's getting more and more bulbous, like looking more and more like a full moon. And this is our period of real high energy, real increased energy. The moon is like, it's approaching that full moon phase. It's not there just yet, but we're feeling abundant. We're feeling like the riches of life. We're feeling passionate. This is when we're going to want to go out. It's when we're going to want to go on dates. It's when we're going to want to see friends. It's when we're going to feel more confident.
I need to connect to that one. I'm feeling quite introverted.
It's good to know when the waxing gives us and so it's a great time then to put yourself out there and gain nourishment, and like from friends and from activities and from just like putting yourself out there, basically, because there's all kinds of self-care, right? Sometimes self-care is going to a pub garden with 60 mates, or like going to the park and sort of like having a picnic or something.
And it can even be just going outside. If you're in a stage of your life where things are just feeling overwhelming, it can just be going outside and
totally
feeling that extroversion, not even with other people, I guess.
Exactly. You're so right there, actually. It really can just be okay, the moon is in its waxing gibbous phase, it's growing, it's confident, I'm going to have that like confidence, I'm going to grow, I've like perhaps outgrown my space here right now, I'm just going to go and get like a new scenery or something like that, take myself off for a walk. It's also actually a really good time in this phase to give a gift of some kind, I always find, to another person. And this doesn't have to be a physical gift. If you want to buy them flowers, if you want to treat them, brilliant. But equally a gift of time, the gift of like a shoulder to cry on, the gift of just saying like, can I do something for you? And it can be someone that's really close to you, it can be a stranger. But this whole idea is that when the moon is in this waxing gibbous phase, then there is this sense of abundance. And the thing with giving is it has the same frequency as receiving. So when we're giving, what we're telling the universe is I am ready to bring things back to me. So, you know, we are in giving, then we are bringing more to us. So
and you can remember it as in the giving and the gibbous, so the GG.
You can. I never thought of it like that.
Because I didn't, you know, I said I love the moon. I mean, I don't know it in the depths obviously that we're going through now. I would just follow it from how I see it and some of the cycles that I know. I don't know the full details that you're explaining now. So, you know, I had no idea that was I mean, what phase are we in now? Is it can I still give?
Can you still give? Yes, you're exactly right. You can still give. You can still give. This is the perfect phase. We've got our full moon coming up on Tuesday. It's like the early hours of Tuesday morning for us in the UK, and so it means that if you wanted to do a moon ritual, like Monday night is fine, Tuesday night is fine, all of this, but yeah, we're still in that period.
In the gibbous.
In the gibbous. We're in the gibbous, so yeah, it's a great time to be giving, and and we do that because we're like welcoming more abundance into our lives, and then we have, after this, we have like our last quarter moon. We don't have our last. We've got our full moon.
Yeah.
So the next phase of this, and the days leading up to the full moon, it's really important to understand that you might feel a bit discombobulated leading up to the full moon. You might feel a little bit just like you can't sleep properly. You might. I
was literally about to say that. I always, for me, when it's getting to the full moon, it's like I have insomnia. I can't sleep, and you know, it's like I don't know why. Usually, I'm out like just straight away when I go to bed, but usually around the full moon, I can't sleep.
Yeah, and it's so ingrained in us from like from the times when like early women, when we would be kind of out fending for ourselves, and the moon would be so much lighter, and so we were easier targets, right? We were easier prey, so we would have to be more aware, like more like half awake almost, because there'd be predators around. So it's
maybe it's that, because it is a little bit, I feel sometimes anxious. Somebody here is saying they have headaches as well, so it has that kind of, for me, that anxious feeling.
Totally, and I've worked with a few women that look after babies like for a living, and apparently babies really react strongly to the full moon.
Wow, that's good to know for the future.
yeah, just in case. I mean, I don't think it's good knowing that, but still. And also there's the whole thing of in psychiatric wards, they would always say that around the full moon, that's where the word lunacy comes from, like the lunar phases, because over a full moon they would have reports in places like Bedlam of all of the inmates, is that how they used to refer to them, obviously patients, would be like really would become almost manic, and so they would call them lunatics, and that comes from lunar.
I literally never heard that together. I had no idea. I mean, that's strange because now we're talking about it. It has an effect on everybody. So, you know, if you have looking at it back then, but it's literally, it has an effect on people.
Yeah, exactly. And so the full moon, and one of the reasons so that we can't sleep properly, where we might get nightmares or we might get things like headaches, is because what is so crucial to remember about the full moon is that this is a time when things are coming to the surface, and surface is a really important way of looking at it. If you think of during the full moon, the entire surface of the moon is showing, and that's because by this point the moon has moved to the other side of the earth, and the full force of the sun's light is shining on her. So she's gone from being in the same zodiac sign 2 weeks later, and remember, because like it takes a month for the moon to go all the way around, so 2 weeks later to go, and that's like the full force. It's like a floodlight. And so in the full force of the sun's light shining on the moon, on the surface being revealed, things are coming to the surface for us. This is where things inside us are refusing to be ignored anymore, and they want to come out in some way, which is why we have crazy dreams. Like our subconscious wants to tell us, like knocking on the door and saying, look, listen to me. And so this is why during the full moon, it's such a crucial point of release. Like it's really important that we take some of these things that are coming up to us, we analyze them, we look at them, we consider them. We don't just let them like hide away in the dark anymore. And then we release that which no longer serves us, which is so important during full moon rituals. Or, you know, you don't even have to have a ritual or a ceremony. It's great just to journal and to ask yourself, like, how am I not stepping into this person that I want to be? How am I not honoring my truth? How am I blocking myself? And what limiting beliefs do I hold? And it's a case of really asking yourself, like, what stories do you hold as truth that you always have held of truth because of either like trauma that you've experienced or because of things that you've been told in childhood or things that you've just like grown up like knowing, that you can actually return to and say, do you know what, like this isn't a fact, this isn't truth, this doesn't comprise like make up me, I can release this. So anything that limits us, for if you think that you are not very good at art because as a 7-year-old your teacher said, well, no, you're just not very creative, but you're good at science or good at maths, like well-meaning, but then throughout your life you might have just this like nugget of but I'm not very good at art, I'm not very creative, might have like just germinated, and then anything where you were put in a position where you needed to be creative fills you with terror. You stay away from creative roles. Actually it might just have been that on that day you weren't that great at like painting, or maybe painting isn't your thing, maybe you're incredibly creative when it comes to cookery, or to another one of the another creative pursuit, but you're blocking yourself off from doing all of those things because you have this story that you've told yourself that has become this truth for you, which I am something, I am not this, I am not that, I can't do this. So what we do over the full moon is we use the energies of whatever sign the moon is going to be in to really look at where am I blocking myself? Like, what truths do I think I know about myself? How can I rewrite these? And what am I releasing? And this is also why we do things like the burn ritual, which is where I was going to
just talk about that actually, because talking about journaling, and I had a diary that had like all these things, like negative things about somebody that I actually wanted to connect with. And it was just, it was just like laying in this diary for years. And then I was speaking with someone about the moon and the full moon energy and how you can rewrite the story. So rewrite on the pages, I am this, I am this, I am this, and then rip it all up and then burn it. So that's what I did.
Brilliant. Well, that's exactly right. And full moon, burn it, baby. And it's just so good because burning, when you sort of like, you can write down, you can do it in any way you want, but if you write down your limiting beliefs, write down any of these things, and then when you're burning it, it's this physical manifestation, this physical action of telling the universe, I'm releasing this, I'm ready to let this go. Fire consumes, but it also then creates space for new things to grow. So it's like this symbolic
like act. A cathartic feeling, isn't it? It's a release, like you said. It's this one time every month. You could do it any time, but knowing if you want to connect with the moon, there is actually a dedicated time that is going to even hold more power, and you can actually do it.
Yeah,
release
exactly. That's your reset day. And if you're having we also have those months that just seem to drag and are really overwhelming, it can be really nice to think like, it's okay, I've got a full moon coming up, I've got a period for release coming up, and it can be something to actually kind of really hold on to, and really kind of set a pin in your month.
And it lets you, every month as well with the moon, it does give you exactly how you just explained, it gives you a new opportunity, a fresh start every month, and an ending to release, so you've got these, it's almost like, you've got this to connect with every month.
That's why it's so exciting. And it does become really, really like, so just thrilling and really enriching when you do start to do it, because what's more, you also have the full moon and the new moon in a different zodiac sign every
this
month.
is what makes it even more fun.
Yeah, like generally, I mean, occasionally you'll get like the same, you'll get a full moon in the same sign, but you know, more often than not, it's a new one, and each of the signs bring a fresh set of energy. So every year we have, like, you know, on average 12 full moons which are going to be in different signs, which we can harness those energies. This makes it like really exciting, because it's just this fresh sense of being able to like improve on yourself, or just to work with yourself every month. And brilliant.
It's new beginnings. It's, you know, it's giving you the opportunity of creating a new fresh start, like you say. You can connect with the zodiacs, the stars, the moon, the sun. Yeah,
it's great. And I think it's just quite comforting as well. And we are creatures of routine. We do need routine in a sense, and so it helps us to feel secure in that way. The moon is always associated with the mother, whereas the sun is the father, the moon is the mother. The moon is like the symbol of like nurture, of kind of like birth. And so it is this sense of being almost like mothered and looked after. You can always feel like you know where you are with the moon.
Absolutely. So what, sorry, I think I kind of just jumped in there. So what happens in between so when it's the full moon and then going back to the new moon, I think it's like almost like the wrapping up of the moon.
Yeah. So it's exactly the same amount. It's the same amount of time as when it's growing. So it does it sort of retreats in precisely the same way, but almost like in reverse. So whereas before we had our waxing crescent, first quarter moon, and our waxing gibbous, now what we have is our waning, getting smaller, waning gibbous, last quarter moon, and waning crescent. So we have our full moon blaring bright in the sky, and then for the next week it's going to slowly get smaller and smaller. So we're going to still have that gibbous, kind of that bulbous looking moon, but it's going to be getting smaller each night for about a week, until we get to the third quarter moon, last quarter moon, which is where it's half moon. And during this time when it's in the waning gibbous phase, this is a time where we are taking stock a bit more. We're not retreating entirely, but after the full moon, we can have a lot to think about. Things will have come to the surface. We may feel quite drained, because, you know, sometimes getting rid of looking at ourselves and working with our shadows and releasing it can make us feel a little bit drained.
And those sleepless nights as well.
Exactly, yeah. You need to catch up on your sleep again, right? Get a few more 8 hours in. So this waxing gibbous it's just a period to like take stock, be good to yourself, have a look at, if you've set intentions, have a look at your intentions and kind of start to build on those a bit more again. Like now you've kind of been given a fresh perspective after the full moon, to return to those, to see what it is that how you want to progress with those. And in much the same way as during the waxing gibbous, we are giving gift to others. During the waning gibbous, it's actually really nice to give a gift to ourselves, to do something to show ourselves love, to either buy something like a little thing, a little candle for ourselves, treat ourselves, or if we, for watching finances, then give ourselves the gift of time, give ourselves the gift of like having a really luxurious bubble bath, watching something that we want to watch on TV, these kind of things. So during the waning gibbous, again, giving, but to ourselves this time. And so that lasts for about a week, and then we have our third quarter moon. And so the third quarter moon is a really important time. This is occurring a week before our new moon again. And if you think on our new moon is when we set our intentions and when we're listening to our intuition, and it's a very magical time, just as magical as the full moon. On the third quarter moon, which is a week beforehand, this is where we're kind of making sure that our land is ready to plant. If we're thinking about it in crops, we're planting our intentions on the new moon, but we're making sure that the soil is ready, and we're making sure that it's like fertilized. And so what we're doing over the last quarter moon is we are decluttering and cleansing our space, and that's both in a physical sense and in a sort of like more spiritual, emotional sense. We're decluttering by looking at our workspace, by looking at like, our bedside table, by looking at, just our home in general, and seeing like, right, where have I got clutter? Where am I stopping the energy from flowing? Like, where can I get rid of like old receipts that I don't need anymore? Like, where can I just have a tidy and just make things feel a bit fresher? And then we're also doing it emotionally, and we're looking at, right, like what people are there in my lives that I need to create stronger boundaries with, that could be draining me, or that there is an unequal exchange of energy.
Yeah.
What situations in my life do I know are draining me that I need to create boundaries? So it's all about creating those boundaries, cleansing our space, cleansing our aura. It is about forgiveness, so forgiving ourselves if anything's come up, forgiving others, and like genuinely forgiving and saying, right, I'm just not going to hold grudges anymore. I'm not going to I'm not going to do it just for the day and then go back to being annoyed. I'm going to completely like wash it out of me. So it's a really, really powerful time for doing this, because it means that when our period to set intentions comes around a week later, then we're going to feel really, really able to do that. And it's almost like we're giving ourselves a spring clean. It's like a spiritual spring clean almost.
I like how you're explaining it. Yeah, like a cleanse almost, because you don't want to be at the new moon still carrying all this weight almost of the month.
Exactly. It's that period to just be like, to wash it all away, to cleanse. And then we've got the week that moving up to the new moon then, which is our waning crescent. So waning, getting smaller, crescent, we're back into our little our C shape. And this is, it's that gearing.
These ones.
Yeah, those ones. And it's a really period of, this is our period of rest. This is our period of going within. This is our period of, don't want to be social, don't be social. I mean, you might want to be social. You might be a sort of like a Leo with Libra ascendant, and you get your energy from being with others, in which case fine, but it's more likely that you're going to want to do it in like, at home or in a nurturing capacity. It might just be that during a waning crescent, you just really want to just turn off your phone and or not answer messages, and it's totally okay to do that. And it's a real period of being kind to yourself and asking yourself what you need, and completely nurturing yourself and going within, because then by the time the new moon comes, we're having that time of getting to know ourselves and asking ourselves, what do I need? So before that, we need to give ourselves the rest to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. I mean, there are so many parts of the moon. And I mean, going back to, talking about the different signs there, I know a lot of people obviously talk about the sun sign, but what about their moon sign? Like, so my moon sign is Leo. Does that mean that I have a different, what does a moon sign mean, basically?
So what the moon sign shows, so there's our star sign, which is also our sun sign. Our star sign is where the sun was in our charts. Quite a few people think that our star sign is what we automatically are. It's like, okay, well, like, you're a Gemini, so you're going to be like chatty and sociable and all this, and or if you're a Libra, then you're going to love balance and fairness. But actually, what our sun sign shows is what we have the potential of becoming, and what we're going to spend this life ideally embracing in order to feel our most fulfilled self, in order to feel our most like we're shining our brightest. So our sun sign isn't automatic. That's our life path almost.
Right.
And so part of what we're doing on this spiritual journey is trying to embrace the high vibrations of our sun sign and leave behind the lower ones. Whereas what our moon sign is our innate selves, our innate, like what we are like. This is more like what we are automatically like. It's what we're like in our most private selves, what we're like with our closest, our nearest and dearest. It's where we seek nurture. It's how we nurture others. And so things like a Leo moon sign is you're going to nurture others by trying to lift them up. Like, your way of nurturing others is going to try and make them feel confident. It's going to try
so true.
Yeah, like it's going to be trying. Whereas, say, like a Cancer moon would just want to either like listen or mother them or kind of, protect them. Your way is going to be much more about like trying to make them glow, like trying to make them shine. Like Leo is all about kind of like of giving them a sense of pride. With a Leo moon, it can also indicate that pride can be a big thing for you. Like, you take pride in yourself, but you may be limited in certain capacities with what you're willing to do because you have a fear of failure, because you have that innate feeling of not wanting your pride to be hurt, not in a vanity way, but in a sense of you would hate the idea of if something's failing, you'd think, well, people might judge me for that, or like I don't want to seem like a failure, so you might not even attempt certain things. So it's all about learning how to work with our emotional selves, like, you know, the emotions that our moon sign brings up, and working with the positive aspects of it, and noticing where it holds us back, and then stepping out of it, because we can easily do that.
I like how the sun sign is kind of our life goal. So it's almost like the sun is always there shining, and then the moon is actually when you're who you deeply are. So connecting with the moon is connecting to yourself.
Exactly. No, it totally is. It really, really is. Yeah.
Yeah. The moon is about inner self.
Yeah, totally. Totally. It is. Like the moon is all about intuition. The moon is what connects us to that deeper sense of self. You know, in connecting with the moon, we are connecting with our own spirituality so much more. The moon is connected to dreams, to illusions. You know, in tarot, the moon often means like dreams. The moon card means being aware of like dreams and this like spiritual part of, and like listening to our intuition. And intuition is such an important one, because intuition is what we hear when we quieten the noise of everything else that's going on around us. And it's, you know, really, it's not an easy thing to do. You can't just flip a switch that says, I'm listening to my intuition now. And it takes so much practice.
One moment.
Yes, hang on. This is why, like, we meditate. This is why we do it. It's like so many spiritual practices are geared towards listening to those like inner whispers. And so moving the moon just helps us do that more, and understanding ourselves, understanding why we do certain things, understanding like our moon sign is really going to help us get there as well.
Absolutely. I mean, amazing. Thank you so much for going through the moon. And the moon, I've always wondered what it meant, the moon sign, but that has made it super clear. So I know we're probably going to wrap up now. I don't even know what the time. I'm really like disorientated today. I'm like, well, what time is it? But what I was going to ask is, how can people work with you? So I've seen that you also do birth chart readings.
I do, yeah.
What are birth chart readings?
Oh my gosh, you would love it.
I think I would. I mean, I love just like finding out more about myself.
Well, basically, this is what it is. It's you tell me your date, your place, and your time of birth, and I can then bring up your birth chart. And through this, I can see not only where your sun and your moon and where your rising is spicy, but all the other planets work. So when you were born, our birth chart is a snapshot of the sky when we were born. So when you came into this earth and you took your first breath, the planets were all sitting in a constellation somewhere. And you taking your first breath, you know, that is the beginning of your soul's journey on this earth, on this, like, you know, physical plane. That's a really important moment, because it's that period at which your soul enters your body and says, okay, I'm beginning this journey. I'm beginning this journey of learning and transformation. And so the snapshot of the sky, our natal chart, our birth chart, that then goes on to be this key to potential in our lives. And the way that the planets react to each other, the signs that they're sitting in, the houses that they're sitting in, because we all have certain houses that shows the area of our life that things come up in. That all then goes to show throughout our lives ways that we can find success and fulfillment if we work with it. So when we work with what are, you know, it doesn't show our future and our destiny, but it shows us the way that we can flourish and the way that we can shine. So, for example, if you have your 10th house, which is the house of career, and it begins on the cusp of, say, Aries, and you happen to have Mars in Aries, this is going to show someone that is going to be so much better geared towards working for themselves, towards being a pioneer, towards being an entrepreneur, towards being a business owner, towards going after, you know, to like being a leader in some capacity. So you might have had a desk job forever and always felt that there was that little, it wasn't right for you, but just not really knowing what to do about it. And then you have this birth chart reading, and then suddenly it all becomes illuminated. And then you also find that like Mercury is conjunct to Mars, and so that means that you have a message to tell the world. And so you look at like Mercury rules Gemini, so you look at see where Gemini fits, and Gemini is on the 7th house about relationships and partnerships. So then you know that, okay, right,
sorry, just to not to interrupt, but I'm like, I really need to get this done. This first chart reading, it's so in depth. It sounds like there's so many different layers to it. Yeah,
so many layers.
Sounds so fun.
Oh my
like
god,
to explore it.
It is, and I always call myself like a bit of a cosmic detective when I do it. So whenever I do a reading, I always say, first of all, like, is there any area that you want me to focus on? And invariably, very like, you know, love and career come up a huge amount, or like, you know, what my spiritual journey is, what am I here for, my mission, which is fine. Like, we all want to know these things. So then it's a case of bringing up your chart and over an hour just talking and saying, right, this is what you'd be geared towards, this is where you'll shine in your career, this is what it's saying for love. And it's just fascinating. I mean, yeah, it's amazing. I love it.
It sounds amazing. I mean, I've had readings in the past, like card readings, and I've been seeing, because obviously I do follow lots of different astrologers now that I'm getting more into it, but birth chart readings, I've always wondered what that is. And so it's linked to basically the moment, the sky, when you arrive to the planet.
Exactly, that's what it is. So it's the snapshot of, I've got two of my...
Oh, some people here are saying, can't wait for the reading. Somebody wants to do it again. I want to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just I guess to wrap up, how can people, because I'm going to post this onto our page for anybody who hasn't seen, how can people get in touch with you, and what other like services or things do you offer?
So apart from birth chart readings, I'm just launching, that's starting on the 1st of May, a subscription that's going to be £7 a month, but it is this beautiful booklet, PDF that goes through the entire month and tells you exactly where the moon is each month. It tells you exactly what
this too. I'm like, I need this too.
It's like got a cosmic calendar in there, so you can look at the month, and it tells you where the moon and what some of the planets are doing. It goes then week by week and tells you like what's best to do that week. It's got kind of guides to moon rituals in there. So that's the thing that I'm really excited about, and that's just going to be, it's almost going to be like your best friend throughout the month. You're like, you know, your cosmic consultancy that you can...
Absolutely, that moon buddy, because it can get, you know, there's one thing knowing that you want to connect with the moon, but even just having this conversation now, there's so many different parts of the moon that you can lose track, and it's, you know, just having that structure, and you know, you've obviously presented it in a way that you can stay on track for the different parts. And yeah, even the giving and the gibbous, I've definitely learned that's new. Giving in the first gibbous, giving to the self in the second gibbous. Yeah,
exactly. So all of that is included in there. So I'm really excited about that. So I hope a lot of people are going to subscribe to that, just because I think it just like looks beautiful as well. And then
I must say, I love your whole visuals on the Instagram. It's so, I definitely connected with that. I was like, wow, this is so like magical.
Thank you. I'm so proud of it, actually.
Yeah, it's great.
Of time into it, but I get like such good responses from it. It just lights me up, so I love doing it. And then finally, if you're interested in crystals, I also have a crystal healing course.
Yes, love crystals.
Oh my gosh, well yeah, so this is this has been brilliant. I'm about to run my 4th term in it, if you wanted to join. But this takes you through, it's like learn at your own pace, so there's no online lessons or anything, but what there are 2 weekly meditations a week if you want to join live, but you also get the recordings with the course. But so many love joining live. So I mean, I've had women that have joined the course and have just done it complete their own pace, never joined a meditation. But then I've also got women who, because once you've joined, you can join any of the meditations forever then. So I've got women that joined back in November that still rock up to the live meditations.
And I was going to say, you know, with the lives, because a lot of our followers are actually in the US, so if they can't join live, obviously you can still get access to those meditations at a different time.
Oh yeah, they're all on YouTube as well, so you get it all sent over. But what the crystal and chakra course does is it helps you connect with your crystals like more. It helps you really understand why we use and how we use crystals in a healing sense, what it means to balance our chakras, what each of the, you know, from the the root chakra, Muladhara chakra, right up like through the sacral chakra, so our solar plexus chakra, our heart chakra, throat chakra, third eye chakra, crown chakra. All of these govern a different element of us emotionally, and so when one is out of balance, that's when we feel emotionally out of balance, and also physically when we can get like dis-ease. And so it helps you to align your chakras, to understand what it is that may be out of whack in your system, how to bring harmony to it, how we use, like, how you can use the various crystals on like a kind of day-to-day basis, of like bringing that kind of sense of harmony into your body. And yeah, it's just, I've had such great responses from people who've said now they kind of wake up and they think, okay, I feel like my solar plexus needs some work today. I'm gonna meditate, or I'm just gonna, you know, carry around my tiger's eye with me. And it's just this great way of really connecting you to your crystals.
Wow, beautiful. And again, I mean, I could probably carry on talking to you forever because there's so many interesting things. It's like rolling on to something more interesting and something more like that I just want to explore. But no, thank you so much for obviously taking the time to connect. And like I said, I'm going to be posting this on our page. And yeah, I'm totally going to be following. I definitely want to get in touch with you for myself about the birth chart reading.
You will.
And yeah, no, it's been a really interesting conversation, and just learning even more about the moon. And you know, for people who think of this stuff as like, oh, it's like, what is it? I think we've broken it down in a simple way to, if you're looking to explore, obviously they can visit your page, they can watch this video and connect, because it is readily available in the sky.
Yeah, exactly. You can connect right now, tonight. Go out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, and I hope you have a nice evening. And yes, I'm going to be in touch about the birth chart.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I really enjoyed this chat.
You're
and
so
I'm
welcome.
So glad that you've found the moon, and that you're, you know,
I love the moon, and I love, you know, the more I've always, the next thing was, I think, more to do with the birth chart that has come up recently, and I've been like, I want to know what that is. So I'm so glad that you do that. And crystals, I mean, maybe next time we can do a talk on crystals, because I could talk about all the crystals as well. They're so interesting, and having with the chakras as well in balance. But yeah, I think the moon is a good place to start.
Yeah, we'll go on to crystals next time for
Absolutely.
Sure. That is a hour in itself.
Well, yeah, thank you so much, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.